Good morning to everyone. See? Okay. So good morning to everyone. We are delighted to welcome you all to this New York edition of Talking Galleries in collaboration with Schwartzman and. My name is Llucià, and I am founder and director of Talking Galleries. It's a project that was born in 2011 in Barcelona as the first international think tank for gallerists, an open platform dedicated to generating debate and knowledge in the field of gallery practices and the art market. The project evolved and enlarged its vision to become a space to debate contemporary culture and art practices. At a moment of unique disruption and change, it's more important than ever to have such a space as art can provide us with the tools to understand, voice, and express the current state of affairs in the art world. Central to the project is our yearly symposium. We have had 9 editions in Barcelona, always held at the MACBA, Barcelona's Contemporary Art Museum. We had also special editions around the world: London, Paris, Berlin, Seoul, Madrid, and Sao Paulo. But the culmination of this mature project is this edition in New York, clearly the International Center of Contemporary Art. This edition would not have been possible without the partnership, dedication, and generous support of Allan Schwartzman and his team. Thank you, Allan, for your efforts, generosity, and dedication in creating this symposium together. I'm proud of being your partner in this edition, further to your participation as a speaker in the Barcelona Symposium in 2020. Well, a few days ago, visiting the MoMA, my attention was drawn to a piece by American-Korean artist Nam June Paik, a piece created in 1965 that many of you will know, Zen for Film. Conceptually, the piece is simple: a 16mm film leader that projects a blank, silent film with dust and scratches collected by the loop of film over the years. Paik reduced there the medium of film to its most basic elements: light and time. The piece visually marks the passage of time and the process of projection. Whoever walks in front of the projection will become part of the work. Well, this is what Talking Galleries aims to be. It generates the space and the momentum for a conversation about contemporary culture and the future of art practices to take place. It's important for us that this is an open project for the benefit of the entire community. All content generated as a result of every single Talking Gallery symposium are accessible for free on our website. Finally, let me thank our sponsors, Lito, for generously hosting our dinner on Tuesday night in honor of all the participants in the program. Lito is an organization based in Paris that creates a state-of-the-art 3D printed reproductions and 3D rendered NFTs of institutional masterworks. Thank you also to our media partner, Artnet News, who has supported us for many years. It's our exclusive online partner. For the first time, Artnet News will be streaming the symposium live through Artnet Pro. So welcome to everyone following us online. I would like to thank the entire team for their engagement and dedication to make this edition possible. Special thanks to the team at Schwartzman, Lauren Randolph, Programming Director for this New York edition, Claire Roberstiello, Senior Director at Schwartzman, and Sol Garcia on my team, Talking Galleries General Coordinator. I would also thank all the speakers and attendees for being here this morning at the Morgan. I hope you all enjoy the discussions. Now, I will turn it over to tastemaker, advisor, podcast host, and former curator, Allan Swarman.
Welcome. I think I must have been the most uncooperative and perhaps annoying speaker in the history of talking galleries. They'd asked me to speak a number of years ago, and the date kept not working out, so it kept getting delayed. And then the year where it really looked like it would work out, I'd cancel at the last minute, which I loathed to do. And then when we finally got to a date that was going to work, they asked me to give a keynote speech, which I said I would, but that I wouldn't write anything. So could it just be talking? And they tolerated it throughout, and were always very supportive and with good cheer. So I have to thank I have to thank Llucià and Sol for sticking with me and flaplessly, and for inviting me. And it was indeed one of the most eye-opening and enjoyable experiences I had had speaking, because most of the speakers were people I didn't know. They were of a generation that I didn't know. And it really opened doors to my thinking in so many different ways. And it indulged my, my delusion that I'm still an art writer. So I appreciated that as well. So I'm just going to say a few things here. So naturally, these last few years have been a time of dramatic tumult, change, questioning, challenging of people. And I think that most of us are still in the depths of what has been awakened in us, both through a worldwide health crisis, in this country, a very direly overdue series of political and cultural upheavals. And about a year and a half ago, Charlotte Burns and I, who have had created a podcast and a newsletter in the past, decided we'd create another podcast, and we decided to call it Hope and Dread. And the idea was to look at all of this, or as much as we could, of this disruption, change, and calls for change and questioning that had arisen during this time and that are still very actively present and evolving today. When we began it, Charlotte interviewed, everyone she interviewed, she asked them at the end of the interview if they felt hope or dread. And of course, people were a little bit of both most of the time. But now, it's now been a year and a half since those, or it's been about a year since most of those interviews were conducted. And what I've come to realize is that we're beyond a point of questioning. We're at a point of redefining who we are, how we function, and certainly in our world here, of how we move forward and what values become most significant to us to propel forward many aspects of the field and business of art that grew grew through a natural process and without so much questioning of the systems surrounding the field itself. And so I think we find ourselves now at a unique moment where we actually get a chance to re-examine, redo, rethink what it is that we do, what purpose we have behind what we do. And so I think this forum is an extraordinary opportunity to be delving into some of these issues. I'd like to, again, thank Llucià and Sol for approaching us about collaborating with them. Grateful that we're able to continue discussions that we've had amongst ourselves with a wider group of people. Very grateful to the panelists. I think we have an extraordinary list of speakers that it's impressed me what we were able to pull off for this. So I think, there's an opportunity to get into some very serious discussions here. And I'd like to especially thank Lauren Randolph, who has tirelessly and without seeming emotional impact, organized every aspect of this event, and which brings us to where we are. And so with that, I'll introduce Lauren. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Allan. As Allan mentioned, my name is Lauren Randolph. I am the director of the Nancy A. Nasher and David J. Hamasiger collection, and I'm honored to have been asked by Allan to direct the program of the first edition of Talking Galleries in New York. Thank you, Allan and Llucià, for this opportunity. And thank all of you for being here today. It's so nice to see so many friendly faces in the crowd. Thank you for coming out in support of the program. And thank you, of course, to everyone who's watching from home. Over the next 2 days, we will hear from the tastemakers and cultural producers of our industry. Writers and art critics, artists, curators, business and institutional leaders will discuss topics both broad and focused that hold incredible value to our understanding of each other and our respective relationship to the arts. Today, we discuss many things. This is a jam-packed day. We're discussing the business practices of the next generation of gallerists, new visions for the future of public institutions, what artists need to progress their careers in Africa, how the continental art world can learn from the models of the Caribbean, the ins and outs of art finance, and finally, we will finish with a focus on the Ukraine and its participation in the Venice Biennial. You will find, I have a few little housekeeping things. So you're gonna find in your tote bag a booklet that outlines the program over the next few days. Feel free to flip through that. Please note that today there is one slight change at 3:50 p.m. The conversation on the boom of art fairs in Asia that's led by Andrew Goldstein has been moved to tomorrow, and in its place today you will find our conversation that was scheduled originally for tomorrow, Models of the Caribbean, Models of Our Time, the Caribbean, led by the Marilyn and Larry Fields curator of the Museum of Contemporary Art in Chicago, Carla Acevedo Yates, and I'm particularly excited about that conversation. Please, if you have not already done so, please silence your cell phones. Please come on in. There are more seats on this side. There's also an entrance on the left side if you want to spin around. Please do silence your cell phones. You are more than welcome to take photos, but if you do that, please be mindful of the people around you. But we ask that you please do not video the conference. Thank you so much for your cooperation with that. We are going to dismiss for lunch today around 12:30. There are suggestions in your program for nearby places to go. Please, though, arrive back by 1:10 if you can. We are scheduled to start at 1:15. And I know that, unfortunately, our Spanish colleagues are probably mortified as to how short our lunch hour is. But we have a jam-packed afternoon. We have a lot to fit in. So please do try to be on time. Now that all of that great stuff is out of the way, I'm really pleased to introduce Lindsay Pollock as our first keynote speaker. Lindsay Pollock is the Whitney Museum of American Art's Chief Communications and Content Officer. And I first had the pleasure of meeting Lindsay almost 15 years ago. I've told her this story, but when I was a front desk worker at a contemporary gallery, she was the editor-in-chief of Art in America. And there was one moment where she came in and I sort of fumbled about, she was tolerating me basically, trying to walk her through a show. And I'll never forget that encounter for a few reasons. One, because she intuitively understood the exhibition in ways that did not require my explanation, but really any explanation. And she understood the process of making art. She understood the references, whether they were historical or current. And secondly, because she was generous with her time and with her spirit. And so that generosity of spirit and intellectual intuition are just a few of the reasons why I'm so looking forward to hearing from her today. So kicking off our discussions with her personal reflections on how did the art world get here? Where are we in this moment today? Please welcome Lindsay Pollock.